Colorado State, what makes them such a good team?
Well, obviously it's Steven. Steven's been there for about 10 years. He's on I don't know game 100 and whatever 30 in his college career. You get you're a player like him and you have that kind of experience and played with on good teams. He's just a really good player with tons of experience. And he plays, and then the thing is, he plays that way every game. Like he plays the same way every game. So when you have that kind of consistency as a team, they can count on that. When you can count on that as a coach and teammates, it just makes it a lot easier to play. And that's why consistency is so important. So everything really starts with him. Then you go from there. They got good players. They got older players. They got the kid Clifford. They got Scott, he's played in 145 college basketball games. So that's really what it comes down to. And then throw in, there's a lot of similarities. They run things that we do, and they're good at it. So they have their way of playing. They know how they're going to play, and they got a lot of experience doing it. So, and they've won before. You know what I mean? Like 2 years ago, they were an NCAA tournament team. So you put all that together, they're a really good team, and it's almost like just about every team in our league.
A little bit on Joel Scott. I mean, I don't know how much you paid attention to him before he was at CSU, but have you seen any growth from him, and how is he even a better player, I guess?
Well, I mean, one, it's his experience. It's just having played so much. I think he's just done a really good job like they have with all their sort of D2. They've had a couple D2 transfers over the last 3 years that all have really, and then Cartier too. It's Cartier and the kid Jacobs they had, and now it's Scott, and it's just, they do a really good job of these, guys transferring up who are good players with tons of experience who really assimilate well because they really value this experience they're having, playing for a really good team in a really good conference and competing to go to the NCAA tournament. That's how he plays. He just knows, I'm on a good team. I know my role, and I'm going to execute my role. I'm going to be an all-star at my role. And that's why he's doing really well, and he's fit in well to what they do. And he's a big piece to what they do. So, I think when you do that, when you're older, I think that's a definition of a good player, and add another good player to their mix.
Kind of same question, but Nick Clifford coming from Colorado, how does he fit in with CSU and kind of help their play?
Yeah, I think it's similar. He's obviously played at a high level before. He's a little different in that regard. But our league is a high level. Some people might say our league is better than the Pac-12. So for him, it's similar. He's competed at that level. And then again, I'll go back to the guy I started with, Stevens. You got a chance to play with a guy like Isaiah Stevens. Boy, does he make it easier. It makes it easier for him assimilate into the team. He's a really good player, obviously talented, always has been. So you put him with Stevens, that's just a great 1-2 punch there. And then throw in the kid Cartier, and they got an inside presence. And I think that's really the way their team goes. It's Stevens, it's Clifford, it's Cartier. It's back and forth over and over again. It's Cartier, it's Stevens, it's Clifford. It's and it all starts with Stevens, and they know that, and they play that way every game in a real consistent manner.
Through 4 or 5 games of Mountain West play, how do you assess your team so far?
3. So I'm still assessing. What I see is what I've said over the last, probably, month is we continue to see a team that's, evolving. I said that for the whole year. It was going to be a year-long thing of these guys who never played before, these older guys who never played before. How do these pieces fit together? Almost the same thing I just said about what makes Colorado State be good. They know who they are. How's that going to look for us this year? We're starting to see it come together. We've practiced more together. But because of that, I just see we're inconsistent. The last game was no better example than who are those guys in the first half? Geez, they're the same guys in the second half. And that happens to us. Too much right now. It's like if we want to compete in this league and win in this league, I don't care where you are. It's really hard to win in this league. Air Force, it's unbelievably hard. You got to be the same guy every day. You got to be the same team every day. You got to be the same every possession. That's got to be a staple of ours, and that's what this team is learning right now. And like I said, last game's no better. There's no more proof that needs to be said than just go look at that game, and it's as our guys mature and come together that way, it's that understanding that we got to be the same every single possession. Can't alter half to half, game to game, 10-minute stretch to 10-minute stretch, 4 minutes to 4 minutes. No, we got to be the same all the time. And when we are, you know what? I like what we have. But that inconsistency, right? Once you're inconsistent, that inconsistency showing up later in the game. That's the reason why it's so important. If you allowed it to happen early, it's coming back later. The only way I know, and it's the only way we can be good here, is can't ever happen. You got to be so maniacal, you know what I mean? You got to be so crazed about having that kind of discipline, because that's our best way to be able to compete and and win in this league, and that's what we're sort of building. And we got to do it now against top 20 teams. So that means you got to do it even better. You got to be even crazier about it. And I'm hopeful that our guys, that's what we're stressing, and that's what they learn here through these, first 6, 7, 8, 9 league games.
You've mentioned the conference a couple times now, and I'm just curious, in your mind, Mountain West, it was a lot different last time you were here with BYU and Utah. In your mind, is this conference better than it was back then?
I think it can be better. When we went in 2004, 3/8 went to the NCAA tournament. Now we're at 4/11s. It's probably similar. I'm not a math guy, but, I think 3/8 is greater than 4/11s. But, I think what makes the league potentially better now is the time frame, that we're in. What makes the league better now is all these guys are 25 years old. We played Nevada, they got 4 grad transfers. We're playing a team tomorrow, they got guys in their 5th years and 6 years who've played 145 games. We're playing now with transfers who are eligible immediately. And what does that mean? Well, it means these guys, they were pretty good, but they lost a lot of guys. I know, well, guess what? The Mountain West, they just go cherry pick other guys from power conferences, and there's no drop-offs. There's no drop-off. Well, those guys graduated. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. They're bringing in these guys and they're eligible right away. If they had to sit out, well, there'd be a drop-off for a year. So I think because of that, our league has taken advantage, of the circumstances, and throw in COVID and the extra year. And every single team in our league, almost, that's the way it is. And then, this league's always had good players, to your point. This league's always had good coaches. I know, but now, guess what? They got guys playing 145 college basketball games with that kind of experience. And here's the last part. And they're playing together. It's not like these guys are coming in for 1 year. In our league, they transferred into the Mountain West, and they transferred into the Mountain West. It's a big-time league. It's the 5th best league in the country, right? They're staying there for 3 and 4 years. They're not transferring again out of the Mountain West. So I think that's another thing. The experience of playing together, for 2 and 3 years together with guys with that kind of experience, you're seeing these really good teams.
I feel like second half against San Jose State, most of the game against Nevada shows what this team can be when it executes. What does it take for this team to do that 40 minutes in a game, do you think?
Yeah, that's the big challenge. I think it's the big learning curve. I think there's a big thing, is it a maturity thing? Yeah, you got to make the decision individually and then collectively as a player. How important is it to you? I actually used the word maniacal earlier. Like, you got to be maniacal. You got to be crazy, man. Like I told our guy, there's not a person that covers college basketball in this country, and this is a true statement, that thinks Air Force can win in the Mountain West. That's a fact. You ask anybody that covers college basketball in this country, there's not one person that says Air Force can win in the Mountain West. I didn't say non-conference, in the Mountain West, right? So if that's the case, right, then you got to be crazy. You got to be maniacal, right? And you got to be maniacal about, right, having that kind of discipline, right? What do we do? How do we do it? Like you brought up the game, no better example than that. Look at those guys in the second half. Got to be like that all the time. You got to be like that all the time, every game. Nothing else matters. That's what it is. And if you got that kind of craziness and you're that maniacal, you know what? Well, you know what? You'll find out that, we'll see. I don't know who they are. those prognosticators and analysts, right? I know that I don't care what they think. I only care about our guys getting to be the way I'm talking about, because when you do, and when you have that kind of maturity to make yourself be that way, you'll be amazed at what you can do collectively as a group, and I think, again, we saw that on Saturday. That's our issue right now, whether that's inconsistency, whether that's lack of experience, whether that's, raising to the level of the competition. It's all in there. But I know the answer is you got to become you got to be wired a certain way. That's what we're working on, developing that. And if we can continue to grow that way, then you'll see us systematically eliminate those stretches where, what's going on there? That's what we got to keep doing.
Corbin Green being academically ineligible for the rest of the year, is the hope for him to come back and be a part of this team next year? And if so, what do you think that these couple of months sitting on the bench in street clothes, what do you think that could teach him?
Well, first, what we have to do is, we have a plan for him. He has to get academically eligible. I mean, this kid has to, really embrace the opportunity that he has. He has an opportunity to be, here at the Air Force Academy. He has an opportunity to get this education. This opportunity, oftentimes in different cases, that's an opportunity of a lifetime. It can be life-changing. And I think he has to grow up that way, and that's my message. That's been my message to him. I'm not giving up on the kid. We'll never give up on the kid, but there's got to be that understanding. I got an unbelievable opportunity here, and our first focus is on him putting in the work and us having a plan, right, where he puts in the work to execute the plan to make himself be eligible. And as he does that, we're going to have like a little red shirt plan for him. Right now, it's what you're doing first and foremost. Then when you're done with that every day, getting 2 extra sessions of your academic work, then you're coming down here and you're going with our strength coach, and you're going to get in unreal shape, and you're going to be challenged, and you're going to get stronger, and you're going to get in better physical condition. And then you're going to come out on the court for like 20 minutes with the coaches, 30 minutes, and you're going to get individual working. And we're going to try to get him to understand, right, that he's got an unbelievable opportunity here to compete at a high level in the two most important areas. The 3, education, athletics, and your life. And if we can do that, right, that's what our goal is. That's what my goal is. And then obviously he's an important part of our program. And if he executes that plan, I know that kid grew up. I know that kid's more mature. And I know he can help us, as we move forward.
Coach, you guys are second in the league in blocks per game, top 5 in steals per game. Despite not having the size that some of you guys as Mountain West competitors have, what has made you guys so good in those areas?
Well, I think it's something that we try to do is we have to try to compete in this league. We got to be a little different. And okay, might not have the 6'9" guy, the 6'10" guy, but across the board, we're going to try to go 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", long arms. And then that's where our block shots come from. They come from, okay, you're a 6'2" guard, but you got a 6'6" guy on you. So, same thing. We have to keep getting better. I think you saw it in the second half the other night. We've seen it at different times this year. Our consistency in understanding that that's what our advantage has to be, and we got to do it all the time. That's what we got to keep working on. We got to get Kellen Boylan and Reedus, all of them. Jeff, you got 25 seconds every defensive possession to be a menace, and be a menace our way. And when we are, well, there's a block shot. How do these guys lead in the league in blocks? How come they're second in steals? Well, that's why. But we got to do it all the time, and we just don't right now. But we have the ability to be like that, and that's what we got to keep working on, is developing that kind of consistency. So we're not talking about ability. We're talking about the fact we do it all the time.
Every Mountain West game is important, but does this one mean a little bit more since it's in-state?
I think, when you talk about the Wyoming, Colorado State and Wyoming, that they always probably do more just because of the local. I think in this case, we went up there and beat them last year. So, guess what? It's Air Force. Does it mean more? And we beat them there last year. So they remember that, and then throw on there, when a team is good like they are, when teams are fighting for, at-large bids probably is what we're talking about. Well, guess what? Every game, doesn't matter, becomes bigger. So in this case, the Air Force Colorado State game becomes probably a little bit bigger game because of that.
Coach, you mentioned you tell your guys they got to be the same every day. Is that a confidence thing? Is that playing together? Or Is it a combination of both or none of them?
Yeah, no, I think it's a combination of all of it. You know what I mean? Like, to me, confidence comes from doing what you practice every day. Confidence comes from having that habit. You know what I mean? Confidence comes from being that disciplined that we practice every day. We practice every day for a reason, so that when we go play, we do exactly what we practice. And if you go do that, you got some confident guys out there. When you don't do that, you might then start to talk about confidence. You know what I mean? So it starts with that, right? Because when you're like that, you're confident. Nothing takes you off of what you're doing. And that's actually what the game is. You know what I mean? The game is whoever wins that game wins the game. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You know, that's the whole game. What's the other team trying to do? They're trying to get you to not do what you practice, right? And whoever wins that game, ultimately, you know what? High percentage that they win the game. So that's what our guys got to learn. You know, now is it a challenging circumstances? Yeah, we're playing top 20 teams. I know. That means you got to do it even more. You got to be wired even more to do it that way. So, I just think, again, that's what you learn as you go through college. You know, I mean, if you play here and you play for me here, right, that's what you learn as you go through your college career. Now, that means college career. That means here we got to get to have juniors and seniors, because then you have a college career here at Air Force, and you've learned these things. You know what I mean? And that'll be our chance and our best chance, right, to prove this formula, right, has some merit to it, and there's a chance at success, which I know, but like we talked about earlier, different environment, right now. Doesn't mean that you go about it any different. This is the way we got to do it here, and I think, to your point, our guys have shown, hey, there's something there. There's some ability there. They got something there, right? Getting to what you asked about that question, getting to that point, that'll be the day that we know, okay, we've got to where we have to be, and we're competing the way we have to compete.